What is good, Ghost Mafians? Welcome back to the Real Talk Podcast with your host, Mr. Ghost, where we bring the facts, we bring the truth, we put it on the table for you guys. We do that here at the Real Talk Podcast. We want to expose the hypocrisy, the lies, and the evil within this fallen world. You guys have to understand how fallen this world really is and how dark this world is. The more that I look at the world as a whole picture, I see a lot of evil and a lot of prophecy from the Bible. In today's podcast, we are going to go over the call for Letitia James to resign and why I believe for the greater good of this country she has to. We are witnessing the greatest shift in political power in American history. We are witnessing conservatives, Christian born conservative Americans that are rising up and they're speaking out against evil. Charlie Kirk died well over a month ago. And I think even to this point, it still hurts. A lot of Americans are reeling from that. It is a moment in our history where the death of a political figure, he's not a politician, but a figure within the political realm, somebody that was an advocate on freedom of speech, an advocate for Jesus Christ, somebody that was an advocate for truth and open dialogue. That assassination marked a moment in American history where we truly saw the veil just fall on the left. And we saw the ugly monsters behind the scenes. It is a scary moment when you are witnessing your own country being ripped apart. And it breaks my heart to see the United States torn between two worlds. The United States of America can't serve two masters. It's either it's going to serve the world and Satan himself, or the United States will turn back to God and worship God. It can't do both. We are a nation built upon Christian principles. If you look at our Constitution and you look at our Bill of Rights, you can see biblical principles intertwined within our existence. We fought against the persecution of the British. It was beyond the taxation without true representation. We wanted true rights. And I'm a firm believer that God set the United States, this land of ours, aside for a purpose. There was a purpose for the United States to be created. I will never understand that purpose. Do I believe that we're the Babylon, the new Babylon within the Bible? I do. But we are witnessing great evil in this society. We're witnessing great hypocrisy in this society. Letitia James herself indicted Trump on pretty much him inflating his business income, inflating his property value, and claim it to be fraud. But she does the same exact thing. And now it's political retribution. Now it's a hit job. Nothing wrong. It's baseless. I think when you intertwine yourself with evil things and you hide behind a mask, that mask eventually comes down and your evil deeds are shown to the world. Letitia did this to herself. Understand that this isn't Trump making up things or implying that he's going to go after his political foes. No, he saw what was done to him, and people around the internet saw the same exact thing. Whether if his company and his organization committed fraud is up for debate. Based upon the appellate's courts throwing out the fine the hundreds of millions of dollars, but they kept in the whole idea they did commit fraud. I don't know. Because I don't trust the justice system. I haven't for a very long time. But that is up for debate. Somebody dug into her closet and found skeletons. And that is the base of what's happening now, of why she's indicted, because she inflated her income. She lied on bank records. And the one she's being indicted with, guys, has a lot to do with her saying this is her primary residence. And I talked about this in the last 2 episodes about this Letitia James situation. You can't do that. You can't go on a bank application and pretty much say, yes, this is going to be my primary residence to get a lower rate than live in a different state. This is going to have repercussions that is going to literally vibrate through the entire justice system. She is our chief officer within the state of New York. I almost said United States. Oof. No, within New York. She's the attorney general of New York. You're not above the law, but you are the law. You're supposed to lead by example. And what has me very kind of tweaked out about this is that she's been doing this for 40 years. Corruption in our government goes beyond her. But she's done this for 40 years, and she finally got caught. We're going to go over several X posts. I'll give you my concise on each one. One of them is a letter from Ed Martin, who's calling on Letitia to resign. And I support that. I think we have to tell her enough is enough. I'm a New Yorker. You got to go. I'm going to be working on a Mandani podcast, and why I think that dude is bad news for the United States of America. But that's a different podcast. But Letitia brought this upon herself. For years, you have lied on bank documents one after another. You defrauded banks more than I can ever count. This is not retribution from Trump. This is accountability for your evil ways and your actions. God does not like a lying tongue. And I call on you, Letitia. How dare you put the word of God in your mouth, claim faith, when you are walking within shadows? You are the wolf among the sheep. I don't know you personally, but when you were asked to sue Trump, you literally said that you're going to be a pain in his rear. Paraphrasing, obviously. You even said you're going to prosecute him, go after him, sue him, without ever seeing evidence of wrongdoing. And you are the Attorney General of New York. I have a law degree just like you. And I know for a fact that right there, it tells me that you have a bias, that you have a conflict of interest. What that motive is obviously the far left of the Democratic Party is filled with evilness, and you are in bed with the devil. Our governor here is in the same bed with you. Madani in the bed with you. AOC in the bed with you. And any other Democrat that lines up behind defending corruption is in bed with the devil. Anybody in this country that is in bed with the ideas that a man and a man can have a baby, or a woman and a woman can have a baby, and that's a normal lifestyle, you're in the bed with the devil. No hate, just straight truth. For those who believe that a man can be a woman or a woman can be a man, you're in the bed with the devil. Our nation is sick. And Charlie said it the best. The only medication this nation can have as a cure is to get right with God. To walk with Jesus. Because that's the only saving that this country truly needs. To reunite with his Father. For we are a nation of God. We have Christian principles in our Constitution. When you swear an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America, Letitia, You have to be honest and open with the American people. Most importantly, your constituents of New York, right? And you have lied from day one. Deceitful people will be exposed. I promise you that over the next 8 years. Oh, yeah, I said 8 years because JD Vance is going to win 2028. But let's dive into these posts. All right, Ghost Mafians, let's get into it. Edward R. Martin Jr., he's the United States Pardon Attorney. He's also Special Attorney for Mortgage Fraud. Associated Deputy Attorney General. He's also the Director of Weaponization Working Group within the Department of Justice. That's just a group that's going to look at cases that they believe have been weaponized for political gains. That's a whole different story. Dear sir, I imagine you were mortified to read online and publicly your recent letter to U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi on April 24th, 2025. On page 4, you make admissions about your client Letitia James' conduct that are stunning to me. I am special attorney investigating many matters, including the criminal referral to which you refer in the Bondi letter. I believe that your admission regarding Letitia James' conduct indicates that she is serious about addressing the problems presented in the referral. After all, her approval of your letter includes the admission, although she likely did not expect it to be published. At this time, Letitia James would best serve the good of the state and the nation by resigning from office to address the issues in the referral. Her resignation from office would give the people of New York and America more peace than preceded. I would take this as an act of good faith. Because of your representation for using the media to argue your points, I prefer that we communicate by letter. I find leaks like your Bondi letter professionally unacceptable and personally insulting. To that end, I specifically ask that you redouble your efforts not to leak this confidential letter. I prefer not to have to move in court and stop you or your client from leaking. Thank you for considering this and alerting your client to this letter. All the best by Edward R. Martin Jr. It's pretty hammering. Apparently, Letitia James is very serious about handling the allegations and the referral, which means there's guilt there. Because you're not going to try to work with the U.S. Department of Justice, you know what I'm saying, if you're innocent. You're going to say, what? Let's go to court. Let's go to court. Let's battle this out because I know I'm innocent. Obviously, there is some guilt there. They're trying to make excuses. And why this attorney finds it okay to communicate via the idea of leaking the information is completely mind-boggling to me. I don't know why you use the media to argue your case. You do that in a courtroom because anything that you say shall be admissible within court. So you have to understand anything that Letitia James says can be used against her. And understand that the amount of evidence that has been stacking against her did not come from Trump, did not come from the Justice Department at first. Trump at all, from the Justice Department, not at first. It came from an accountant forensics guy. I did the last podcast on this. This guy literally ripped open her closet door and exposed the skeletons. He looked into her financials. Because she is a public official, she has to disclose her financials. And it's very clear she was hiding things, obviously, when she was doing these disclosures. But when he dug deeper and he looked further into her closet, he found a lot of fraud, a lot of fraudulent behavior, including in one where she claimed her father to be her husband. That's just weird to me. And other ones, she literally lied about her income. She lied on the documents stating that the one house that she's being indicted for was her primary residence when it wasn't. And that should be a podcast within itself of how that particular case, that particular indictment can jeopardize any case that she touched in the last 40 years, not just as Attorney General. Because people could question her conduct, her character. Is she a trustworthy, very truthful person? If she's lying on mortgage documents just to get favorable rates, what's not to say she will lie within court or lie on cases just to inflate the numbers? It's a very dangerous and slippery road that this is going to go down. Ed Martin is not playing games. I don't think this is the last indictment. We're going to see a lot of people being charged. I do not care if you're the president of the United States. If you broke the law, right, and it had nothing to do with your job as president, right? So presidential immunity won't fall under that. You should be charged. And I'm a firm believer that Obama's guilty. 100%. I believe the Clintons are guilty. There's a lot of guilty people within politics on both sides of the aisle. But we can rant all day about this. But this letter is damning. Because obviously he's pretty upset when he goes over the letter with them. You know, he's telling them, hey, I don't want this leaked. I do not want this put out there. I find it very unprofessional and personally insulting. I agree with that. How can you call yourself a professional lawyer if you're arguing your facts to the media and leaking personal confidential letters? You're jeopardizing your own case. These are serious charges. I think these are a lot more serious than the Trump charges. You know, the evidence within the Trump case was very circumstantial. There's a lot of reasonable doubt there. When you look at the evidence inside her case, you're not seeing that. You're seeing a lot of guilt. There's one document where she claimed that her rental or her building was a 4-unit when it's really a 5 because she didn't want the commercial rate. She didn't want the commercial insurance rates. She didn't want the commercial mortgage. She wanted something a little bit cheaper. Liars will get caught every single time. I can promise you that. Let's dive into the next one. All right, let's see what Fox News has to say, guys.
Fox's Christina Coleman has all the details. Hey, Christina.
Hi, Charlie. Great to see you. This is a major follow-up in a story first broken by The Angle. High-profile attorney Abby Lowell is the lawyer representing New York Attorney General Letitia James. And today, he sent a letter to Attorney General.
Just real quick, that's the former lawyer, I believe, for Hunter Biden. I think that's what they're talking about. It's kind of ironic that they're corrupt and the people behind the mask, as I said, the very evil circle within the Democratic world, they're far left, is all defending each other. Like, really? You're hiring the same mob lawyer that defended Hunter Biden that was clearly guilty of a lot of his charges? It doesn't, I'm not surprised no more that they have each other's back. I'm not, you know.
Pam Bondi arguing the Department of Justice should reject a request to prosecute James over allegations of mortgage fraud. He says the criminal referral against James is improper political retribution and lacks any credible foundation. In the letter, he said, quote, the studying hypocrisy of President Trump's complaint that the Justice Department had been politicized and weaponized against him is laid bare as he and others in his administration are now asking you to undertake the very same practice. He sent this letter after the Federal Housing Finance Agency referred Letitia James for potential criminal prosecution over alleged mortgage fraud, something James strongly denies.
The allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour.
Officials within the Trump administration say differently. They accuse James of using falsified records related to property she owns to receive favorable loan terms. And while her attorney is accusing the Trump administration of weaponizing the DOJ, some legal analysts and many Republicans question James's use of the justice system.
This is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress.
Lowell is asking the DOJ for a quick response to his letter requesting they reject the criminal referral against James alleging mortgage fraud. Charlie?
Such an amazing story.
All right, Ghost Mafians. That was pretty interesting, right? To hear that whole take. And obviously she hired an attorney that defended Hunter Biden. So it surprised me that evil loves to keep evil company. Now, we have to really compare both cases for a second. If you made it this far, please subscribe down below. I appreciate you guys so much, helping the Ghost Mafia grow. But let's hit this head on. Trump was found liable for civil fraud, right? Which is a broad category of deception practices pursued by a victim in a civil court matter, right? For the recovered damages. See, bank fraud is a criminal offense. So two different categories, right? There's one bank that did come out and say, which was a Deutsche Bank, that came out and said they were deceived by Trump's, inflating his income, inflating his property values. Little heads up, a lot of investors and a lot of real estate investors do this. Is it right? Not really. It's not right. They shouldn't do it, but they do it. Why? I'm not in that business. I'm not in the financial world, so I don't know why they do it. But Trump did pay back the mortgages with interest. So it's not like he took money from them. So there was a zero fraud loss, right? They didn't really lose any kind of money. So we could say that the Trump case was really a political hit job, right? She was just going after him. She said it in 2018 herself. We're going to be a pain in his rear. He's going to remember my name. Well, Letitia, I think the entire United States is going to remember your name after this. Now, but then when we look at Letitia's case, there is clear evidence of loss, almost close to $20,000, if not more, of bank loss, that the bank lost within interest payments. So that's bank fraud. They were defrauded out of money. Two different clear cases. And plus, this was brought about by the Federal Housing Administration that oversees bank loans for very low income people, low credit score people. I don't know how she got there. How is she able to get these type of favorable loans? Because she lied. She lied on the documents time after time after time. So there are very two different cases. Okay? Now, with them both being two clearly different cases, it's very clear one was a political hit job and the other one is just justice. You pretty much went after Trump on some BS, okay? A very vague case, 100%. But with you going after Trump, you kind of put a target on you. Listen, Letitia. Listen, my lady. You kind of put a target on your back. People were going to look into your closets. They were going to dig to see what dirt does she have on her. See, that's what sparked the Federal Housing Administration to say, is there any validity to this? Any truth to this? Let's go look. You have to be stupid to think you're going to open a can of worms, the Pandora's box, and not anticipate that somebody on the other side was going to start digging into your closet, digging into your dirt, seeing what you have. And that was sparked the Federal Housing Agency. They saw this forensics guy, if I said that correctly. They saw his video. They're, is there any truth to this? Let's look into it. And there's bank records. There's literally paper trails. Like that's the part I'm talking about. Like but the stupid part. You have to be real stupid to think they weren't gonna say, hey, you lied. You claimed this was gonna be your primary residence when it's not. It's a rental property. You told the banks this is the one charge she's facing, but then there's others that might come. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? But then there's a property in Brooklyn where she claimed 4 units when it's 5 units. Why? Well, because when it's a 5 unit, it's now a commercial property. You get higher interest rate and mortgages and higher insurance rates. It's crazy, right? As I said, I'm not a real estate specialist, so I don't know much about the real estate world. I do know when it comes to that, it's kind of a lot of money, right? And she lied on another property as well. And she lied on another mortgage document that claimed her father was her husband. So we see 40 years of deceit, 40 years of lying behavior. There's a pattern developing here. So there'll be more charges to come. It's very shameful that you would sit there and really think that it was going to be okay to go after somebody with circumstantial evidence, by the way. And the reason why I think this was a political hit job is because there was no bias. There was no bias at all. I'm not sure if I'm using that word correctly. If I'm wrong, correct me down below. What I'm trying to say is that there wasn't, when you look at Letitia James, Democrat, she hated Trump. The judge hated Trump. The prosecutors hated Trump. It was hate, 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 hate. Nobody had, there was no middleman, right? The easiest way to say it, there was no middleman at all. There wasn't somebody that was going to say, I'm going to take an objective look at this. I'm not going to have one side or the other, but I'm going to be looking at this with an independent look to see if there's real guilt here. That's what I'm trying to say. And it was very clear throat that this was all Democrats not wanting Trump in the White House. I have my inklings why. Different podcast for that one. Stay tuned for that episode because the episode will be very interesting. It's mixture between conspiracy and just my idea of why they don't want Trump in power. And I think it's because a lot of what you're seeing is the corruption's being exposed. I think we don't need a podcast on it. It's kind of clear throat, right? It's kind of clear to the point. He's going after the corruption. He knows all their secrets. He knows what they do to make money. They don't want all that taken away. They don't want their slush funds taken away. They love money. And the money, listen, money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money that can lead to evil ideas, to evil behavior. Let's dive into the next post. So, guys, even our boy Nick Sorter, I did a podcast on him, even broke this out. That special prosecutor Ed Martin privately called on New York AG Letitia James to resign amid criminal investigation into her for mortgage fraud. She refused. Now she's going to meet with the full force of the law. Have an extra 4XL jumpsuit ready, DOJ. As you can see. Then the next one from this one, we're going to go through these. Obviously, Letitia James is the criminal who should be forced to resign. Oh, she will resign, all right. Then be arrested. I cannot. We can't wait. Even I can't wait. And once again, Trump just got to stop. He needs to stop posting. Somebody take away his phone for a little bit. Let this play out in the court systems, because obviously you're giving her more ammo. Right? You're giving her more ammo that you're kind of going after for political reasons, retribution, whatever, when it's really not. Big win today against the totally corrupt and incompetent New York Attorney General Letitia James and her equally incompetent hand-picked New York State judge. The 5-0 verdict from the appellate division gives greatly to save the status and representation of the New York judicial system. Letitia James is a criminal who should be forced to resign. This was back in August when they ruled, but they did find his company, his organization, Trump, his kids, liable of fraud. I think that's still playing out through the court system. Then we have Mrs. Ann Vanderstilt posting. Let's see if I understand this correctly. Letitia James lied about her income to secure a lower mortgage interest rate. She finally facing one count each of bank fraud and false statement to lenders. Same thing that she's accusing Trump of. She did herself. And this part I had to go look up. I really had to go look this up, and I had to use, obviously AI gave me an answer, and I believe it to be true as of right now, but I'll stay on top of it. She fully expects to use a $10 million state budget allocation that the Democrats enacted 5 months ago, and that just happens to cover her legal costs? Question mark. She didn't state it was happening, but she questioned it. Right, so basically, break the law and taxpayers foot your bill. Meanwhile, everyday Americans who can actually follow the rules are stuck paying their mortgages, struggling with bills, and watching this circus unfold. This isn't justice. It's a system rigged for insiders. And somehow we're supposed to trust her to enforce the law on the rest of us. Give me a break. And obviously, it's political retribution. Let's be serious. It is not. And I had to look this up. Yes, there was a $10 million fund, but it according to the comptroller's office in New York, who's a Democrat, I'm not trusting this one bit. I'll stay on top of it. Said they're not using any of it for Letitia James. So with that being said, guys, we're at this point. Do I believe Letitia James to be guilty? Yes. But she is innocent until proven guilty. That's what makes our country a great country. That you have the presumption of innocence until you're proven guilty by a court of your peers. Letitia James, you open this Pandora's box, and now it can't be closed, okay? I want you to understand that when you lie and you defraud the banks, it's going to come down on you in the full extent of the law. Resign. Give New York a chance to heal. If anything, don't resign, because I have a feeling that you're not going to be Attorney General much longer, because if things go according to plan, we're going to have a new governor, and I don't think this governor is going to keep you around. And also, guys, if you're watching this in New York City, please don't vote for Mandani. Just throw that out there. Please don't. Don't sacrifice your city for some socialist nut job. Just don't. I'm going to be doing a podcast on that guy and why I think he's bad for America and bad for New York City in general. But guys, Letitia James is clearly guilty. This isn't a political hit job. See, I want you to understand this. Trump's case, once again, we could hit that no, it was a political retribution. It was a hit job. 100. We could say that 100%, because a lot of his cases got thrown out. The classified case, I think the Georgia one is still playing its way out, but eventually, hopefully, that will be thrown out. But when you look at the Letitia James case and where it stems from, okay, let's just talk about those two cases again. Trump's civil fraud case came from Letitia James' office, not from the Federal Housing Administration, not from the Attorney General's office of the United States. Did it come from that aspect, right? No bank called up New York and said, hey, we're being defrauded. This was Letitia digging into Trump's personal records, because obviously as president, he had financial disclosures, all that. So he was clearly witch hunt. I think that's what he likes to use. You could say it's a political witch hunt, 100%. It was like the Democrats really did not want him in power, and Letitia James is going to do whatever in her power to prosecute this man and his family for a crime per se that is rarely ever prosecuted. Okay. A lot of real estate investors, a lot of businessmen inflate their income, their value, their worth. They inflate the property value. That's why it's the bank's job to audit, to look into your financials, to look into your property value by sending out an assessor saying, you're not worth $2 billion, you're worth 1.9, and that property that you said is worth $18 bajillion is only really worth 14. The point is, it's the bank's job to verify the income, to verify things. Letitia, on the other hand, her criminal charges, criminal, not civil, criminal, is coming from the Department of Justice. It is coming from the Federal Housing Administration, and it's because somebody that wasn't in Trump's administration, because of somebody that had nothing to do with Trump, could care less about Trump, looked into her financials and found dirt. That's the moral, guys. You F around, you find out. And that's what happened. God bless you guys. I look forward to hearing your concise on this. Let me know down in the comments below your take. Be respectful. Let's have an open, respectful debate down in the comment section. I love you all, and I'm going to catch you all in the next episode. God bless. Save America, y'all.